going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Victory Life Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, owner, and founder of Victory Life. And today I'm joined by someone I've interviewed already a few times at Media Day, someone if you're in the Princeton County and surrounding areas, you're familiar with, none other than Coach RJ, head basketball coach at Battlefield High School. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, good. I appreciate you, Dwight. Yeah, it's been a fun 2 interviews and now 3. I really appreciate you having me on. I feel like now that I'm in the district, it's a badge of honor to be on the podcast.
No, I appreciate it, man. And I love your energy, man. You're very energetic. You're very insightful, man. And I love showcasing guys like yourself who really care about the kids, who really want to talk basketball, talk life. I knew you from a distance as a trainer, and we're going to talk about that here shortly. But now you're a coach. So let's dive into first, speaking of you being a trainer and your background. Some people know you. A lot of the kids in the DMV know you. You and Chauncey created a very special program where a lot of household names, D1, D2, and D3 guys are there. Talk about working with Chauncey and the kids and how you kind of got into all of that, because that's where I knew you from when I got the flyers on Instagram about a training on President's Day or something like that.
Yeah. No, so it's funny. It's a weird story, but like all great things, it's always a weird journey. So Chauncey and I actually went to the same high school. He was a year older than me. He was playing at one of the top JUCOs in the country at a high school. I got into coaching on accident. It's kind of in my blood. Like, my grandfather coached high school out in Pennsylvania. My dad coached me in travel growing up until my sister got sick. And so when we were 16 in high school, just 2 buddies of mine were coaching rec league for college credits, but they didn't really care enough or have any kind of experience. So they just asked me to come to a practice and whatever. And, we installed a bunch of plays, and I just kind of fell in love with it and got asked to coach AAU program that year. And so, like, from a very early age, I got to coach at a high level. Definitely wasn't ready for that. But it's just, sometimes you got to get thrown into the fire. And then on the Chauncey and MVM side, he called me at college, told me he was miserable. He was done with basketball. He wanted to come home and asked if I was still coaching a team. And at the time, I had like a little 5th grade team, like Mahad Youssef. I don't know if you remember him from Unity Reed, superstar. That was like one of my first point guards I've ever gotten to work with. Like, I tell you, like, me and Mahad, I tell this story all the time with him. So, like, we would train at K Sports all the time over in Manassas. And I remember just he and I being the last ones at practice and having to sprint up and down the court for hours until he figured out how to pull up on his jump shot rather than turn it into like I got to stop, I've got to get my feet collected. We spent hours in the gym, and, you saw him off that one dribble pull up. It's fun. Like, talking to Haas and the Battlefield kids, they were like, our game plan was always let Mahad get 20 in the first half and tire himself out, and then we'll go ahead and we'll finish the job in the third quarter. But, like, that was one of our first kids. So Chauncey came home from school. We started working with that team. He and I just fell in love with it. And then as we started to build that, Chauncey started to create relationships, and he started working out like Isaiah Abraham. And that was one of his first, honestly, pupils. Like, they were inseparable for years, middle school through high school. Met Pat, met Nate. There was just a ton of kids. And, like, people don't know this now because they see Nate at Tennessee and they see Pat at Duke and they see all the stuff that we try to advertise. But, like, Chauncey was waking up at like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, driving to all these kids' houses, picking them up, waking them up, picking them up, getting them in the car, finding a gym, whether he had to pay for it himself or he figured out a way to get there. And he would train them for hours. He'd go buy them lunch. He would bring them back to the gym and train them, and then he'd take them home. There's a reason Chauncey had so much success, and it's not because he's left into a bunch of guys that have gotten tall. Like, that helps, obviously. Get to top 10 projected pick or top 25 projected pick, like, you've got to have some God-gifted abilities. But Chauncey's ability to, he lived for other people. And, like, for me, we've talked a lot, like, your humanity will always carry you further than basketball, and that's kind of like the values that I try to live by. And so, like, that's what Chauncey and I really connected on. Like, basketball's cool. And I brought a lot of like the analytical thinking and the coaching thinking, and he brought a lot of the player and training thinking. And when we put it together, like we were able to just balance off each other just in a very beautiful way. And like I said, he just put in so much work on his own and so much elbow grease with the older kids, just picking them up and driving them everywhere. Like I had a 9 to 5, I had to pay rent. Our other trainer had a 9 to 5, he had to pay rent. Chauncey worked with kids during the day, and as soon as school ended, it was all he cared about. And so like I wish people knew more about like what he did to get our business to where it is right now. But it's, you know, there's not a lot of people better on this earth than him. And so,
well, I tell you what, I ain't gonna cut you off, but I'm more than happy on this podcast to say this. When we get done, I know you got a game plan, you got games, but reach out to him and tell him Vic's going to be in touch with him. I'm going to reach out and get him on the podcast so we can talk more about what he does, because I've been around him. He came to my AAU organization a few years ago because I have one, and he trained our team. It was Isaiah, Tay Barber, a lot of the guys that you know, he trained them. Tavion Faison, Trey Terrell. And he trained 2 or 3 of those guys in the group that you trained. So it wasn't like they didn't know him, but yeah, we had Chauncey come out and he trained them, and I just dapped him up and talked to him. And it's so funny too, because I remember that was kind of the first time I was around him in person. And you hear his name so much, it's almost like Braveheart, the folklore of, this guy,
or the boogeyman if you're a public school coach.
Like, he just looks like, he's not like me. I stand out. He's very like quiet, Yep. I won't call any other man short. Either he's smaller than me. I won't call him.
Let him know, please. I do all the time. It's the only thing I have on him.
But yeah, holler at him for me, man. I think it's will be told. I follow him on TikTok and Instagram, and it does great work. What made you? Who impacted you to make you want to decide to take on coaching though? Because training, you coached before. Because I don't think people know that. I'm not talking about Battlefield. We'll get to Battlefield shortly. You coach other places. People don't know that, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that, where you coached and where you've been and how that come about.
Yeah. So it's in my blood. And honestly, I think it really stemmed from how bad my approach was as a player. Like, I was growing up, I was big into video games, but like, the kind of video games I played was like, I used to play the old 2K college basketball games. And like, I was the guy that'd go in, I'd create my own playbooks. I would coach mode. I'm not even like, I want to call the plays, the substitutions. I want to do the recruiting. I want to do like, I fell in love with it. Like if I wasn't on a court playing basketball, I was playing video games, whether it was just like being a general manager or being a coach and trying to dictate schemes and playbooks and build rosters. And I don't know why, my doctor has a theory, but like I don't know why I got so addicted to that aspect of it. But then as a player, like I had a lot of anxiety as a kid, and I found myself like training, great, practice, great. You get into high situation moments, I could never get my heart and my brain to balance out. And it always led to me, not being the player I wanted to be in big moments. And it wasn't until, and I know you and I have talked about this a little bit, it wasn't until sister went through cancer and passed away, and I had to go through all that family stuff, and that stuff destroys families, and it destroyed mine, and you've got to, like, it made me grow up quick, and it kind of put a lot of things into perspective. And at that time, like, it was too late for me. I was 17 years old. I had already given up trying to play in college. My grades weren't there. I didn't learn how to like really sacrifice and work and strive for things that I want until all that stuff happened. And so it forced me to grow up at an early age. And, I was always just like, if this had happened 3 or 4 years earlier, or if I just, listened a little more or done this or done that, like, I'd be in a much better position. And so I immediately just wanted to like help change lives to an extent. Like I made a lot of mistakes at a really early age, and I have a unique situation that's given me unique perspective. Like, I feel like it would be a disservice if I didn't immediately pivot back and try to help people. And, I had to learn more hard lessons on the way. And I think for the most part, like, I'm very proud of like the work I've done. I've been coaching AAU or high level basketball, so to an extent, for 12 years, 29. Since I was 17, I started coaching AAU, got into GBA, travel, ended up becoming, the Division I coach right out of high school. And built a little bit of a thing and, won a world title in nationals in Florida for AAU and did a lot of things. I think over 3 or 4 years, we went like 240 and 30. And it's not because we played locally. Like, that was my big thing it's because we had like great players and families that were super committed. So like, I'm talking about, we would have kids from like 5th grade on where you've got 2 team practices a week, you've got a team training a week, and then we do film. Like, we get together as a team, we watch film. Like, we wanted to teach the kids at an early age to be growth-minded and how to do this at a high level. And like, we weren't going and finding the best athletes. We were just, whoever was willing to work was willing to work. And so like, you saw the results of that. So like, Hassan Hamad's a really good example. Mahad's a really good example. You've got, I think, once we really perfected our craft, like, we've got a group of sophomores right now in the district, in the area, that are really good. Like, Aiden Aqua's over at PVI. When he gets an opportunity, he's going to show everybody, he's absolutely a high major Division I basketball player. I mean, just talent through the roof. I think if he was in public school this year, I mean, he'd be in the conversation for District Player of the Year and all Mets. I mean, he's that kind of talented. And then you've got, guys in the district, sophomores, that are playing a lot at Battlefield, at Gainesville, just a lot of good kids that have learned how to be great role players. Like, they do the little things. Like, they're the guys that are going to box out every single possession. They're the guys that are going to crash the glass at the proper angle every possession. They're the guys that they lead the team in offensive rebounds, deflections, charges drawn. Like, things that don't really pop up in a box score often.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of like what me and Chauncey strive to build, was like, screw the height potential, screw the athleticism potential. Like, we're going to move in a direction, like, you're going to be undersized your whole life and you're not going to be athletic your whole life. And we're going to make sure that, like, when you're the 10th guy on a court, you're adding winning value on both ends. Yeah. And like, that was our goal. Like, we're not here to teach superstars. We're here to teach like high level championship value role players. And like, what you have to do in high school, in my opinion.
Yeah. Hassan is one of my guys. I interviewed him. He's been on the pod, and, he's got some victory life gear. He's part of the movement. I got to get you some too, but that's my guy, man. I remember him, not to take away from the other Battlefield players like Tennant and the big they had.
Ty Gordon, Ryan.
Nothing against those guys. Ryan, oh yeah, he was very good. But to me, Haas was the one that made that thing go, because he was so he was physical, but yet he would just have games. One game I remember in particular, my son went off, got player of the game, but Isaiah had 21-9 and whatever, but Hassan had 29.
Missed a couple free throws, by the way.
Yeah, he missed a couple. Yeah,
but should have had 30.
Yeah, he should have. And I remember at that game, I talked to Chauncey after the game. I talked to him for a minute, and then I talked to Hassan. And I remember talking to him after the game, and I was like, "Hey, listen, you were phenomenal." He was so gracious and so humble. And that was my first real interaction with him. And after that, we would talk all the time. I followed him to CNU, and now he's up here in Mary Washington. Him and those Patriot guys have that team ranked. I mean, it's a lot of local guys. Preston from Gainesville's on that team.
Yeah.
Caden and Jay Randall on that team. Caden Bates and Hassan, and then, some other people from VA.
And they're having fun. Like, they're having a lot of fun right now.
Yeah. But I'm just happy that he's getting his shine. I mean, I always thought he was a dynamic guard. And the thing I like about him, and he mentioned you guys in his interview with me, the development. I think the cool thing about him, to your point about the misconception that all you guys do is train the Isaiah Abrahams and Patricks, that's not true, because the one thing I thought was cool was he talked about how he got cut by the playmakers already when he was younger. And he asked her what was the issue. She said, "You weren't good enough. You weren't giving me everything you had." And he got in shape, and his game just elevated. And I think that's the cool thing. There's always, this personally, there's a misconception, somewhat of a knock against trainers by people that, whether it's resentment or they don't think they're doing what they should do, but there's a benefit if you get with the right trainer. So I just want to make sure I give those guys their flowers, both you and Chauncey and Hassan, because it benefited everybody.
No, and I mean, I think any market that's oversaturated, like, you kind of get that response. Like, you see the same thing with like AAU basketball. Anybody can just start a team now. Like, it's oversaturated. Anybody can coach a team. So like, people get iffy about it. Like, anybody can call themselves a trainer. Anybody can like get moves and show people moves. But like, the analysis, connecting with people at a higher level, like now there's a lot to it. And it's an oversaturated market. So like I understand people's hesitations towards like trainers and AAU teams and all that stuff. But like you said, you find the right one, like program, coach, trainer, etc. I mean, great things happen. I mean, it's really hard for great things not to happen. But like, yeah, Hassan's told you guys. I mean, Hassan's a funny one. He came to us in 8th grade as a center, and he was he was a center. Yeah, so when he was in 8th grade, he got cut from the A team. And we had a kid who had played basketball for 1 year, but Chauncey and I just worked with him relentlessly. He made some strides, and they took him over Hassan, which was a huge mistake. And we told them, and at the time, it was the best thing that actually ever happened to Haas. And so Haas had a really good year, but Haas was a center whose number one move was a drop step. And if he couldn't get you on the drop step, he was going to throw an up fake and he was going to foul bait. And that was Haas's game. But he was taking 3 to 4 charges a game. He was boxing out bigger guys. He was willing to do anything. And like, if you have that kind of mindset, you can work with that. And so we had a hard conversation with him after his 8th grade year. Like, hey buddy, look over at Pops. He's 5'7". You don't have the genes that you think you're going to be. Like, it's time to run 17s 5 times a training session. And we got to turn you into a point guard. Like you've got no other option. If you want to play basketball at the next level, you have to be a guard. And then, for that to happen, his work ethic speaks for itself. Like, that's not you can't just be a great trainer and get those kind of results. You've got to be a great person and player, and credit to him and his family. Like, Haas is top-notch player, person, human, checks all the boxes.
Another kid you guys have been heavily involved with is a kid I'm infatuated with, because I know I've seen him. And he's been around. He played a little bit of AAU with my son Isaiah with DC Premier before he went to Loaded, and that's Nate Ament. Nate, to me, that he was on a Netflix documentary. He was featured along with some other players when Iverson and Shaq did a documentary about their Reebok, program they have now, returning to Reebok, Iverson and Shaq. And I remember seeing Nate, and the cameras came to Highland, and Nate was with his family. And I've been around Nate. I've seen him when he was at Highland. I've seen the progression. Because, again, another kid that to the average fan came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, he's a household name and according to the experts, a lottery potential pick, right? But the thing I like about Nate, and, my son tells me all the time, he's like, he works so hard. He's so humble. And I think that's really cool, because if I had a signature shoe, and I'm a humble guy too, but if I had a signature shoe and I'm about to make money, man, listen, and I'm not even that kind of guy. I mean, I like my fair share and drip or whatever, but I mean, that is and he's still very down to earth.
Yeah. No.
I know this is your legacy spotlight, so to speak. We're talking about you, but you're part of it. You're part of his network. I mean, how is he in the gym?
I take zero credit for any of that. Nate, 6'3", skinny, lanky kid from Colgan who walked into the gym one day, and Chauncey looked over at everybody and said, "We got one. Like, I'm going to turn this kid into exactly what he's been." And it's his hard work. Like, I remember, we're closing up shop and we're done training at 8:00. He's coming in for his second, third workout of the day. Like, you don't hear of guys at that level willing to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, drive from Warrenton to Vienna to do performance training, to work on, you're 6'10" doesn't mean you're going to be great at basketball. You've got to teach your body how to move in every kind of direction, how to be able to stabilize, be healthy, all of it. He would wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, he'd go to Vienna, he'd come back, he'd get ready for school, he'd go work out after practice. Like, his work ethic speaks for itself, and he's one of those, like, he's very religious, very faith driven, and like, he stands by his principles. And I think that's where, like, people see the humbleness. He's exactly what you see. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a negative interaction with him. I don't think he's probably the only person I've never heard Chauncey complain about until now, because this is the first time he's ever had a bad game. Or not a game to Chauncey's standards, which are not realistic, but that's why Chauncey, that's why he gets the results he gets.
Now you're focused on Battlefield, and you should. But I have kids I've coached in AAU, and coached in football now. Like, a guy I coached when he was young, and Amari Campbell, who's a Manassas kid, he's starting for Penn State, had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He took to the house against Rutgers. It feels good when I can turn the TV on and see a kid that I coached for 2 years, and Grant Polk, another guy you had, that I'm like, yeah, I had Grant. I knew Grant when he played at Bull Run. Him and my son Isaiah are good friends. Me and his dad, we text, so we DM each other on Instagram. It feels good to have kids that you part of their story, their village, right? I know you're focused on Battlefield. We're getting ready to talk about the Battlefield process and the journey there, but do you kind of glance a little bit? And I know you guys have a lot of kids, alumni, so to speak, from your program. I mean, even Mahad is a kid that now is getting his shot, because at one time he was concerned if it was going to work out. So you all have a lot of kids. Is there a group chat? Is there how do you, and I know you focus on the Battlefield kids. Do you kind of say, hey, yo, Chauncey, you see what Grant did last night?
Yes, Chauncey. Yeah, we have a group chat with all the trainers, and Chauncey talks about it. Here's the coolest thing about our network and MVM. This is the commitment level that I kind of touched on earlier. Every kid has their own person in the network. Ben Hammond over at Virginia Tech, Jordan worked with him exclusively. Jordan put the hours in with him. Jordan's one of our head trainers. You've got guys who work with Josiah. You mentioned Grant Polk, Kenny Clark. That's a Kenny Clark. Kenny went to St. Albans with him. He went and coached there. He went and trained him. He'd opened the gym early in Manassas to train him. Because Chauncey's one person and he can't realistically give everything to everybody. It's actually really cool to have a network of 6 or 7 trainers who we've grown up with and gotten to mature with, and everybody's got a guy and everybody's had a hand in this, and everybody. So it's not just Chauncey or me. It's all of us. It's all of us. And so I love it for those guys, the guys that put the elbow grease in, who are bumping bodies with them every day. That stuff's special to me. So I love it. But like you said, super focused on Battlefield right now, honestly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Battlefield, I knew of Battlefield. I remember when it was first. I've been living in Northern Virginia for 25 years. I'm a 757 guy, but now I guess I'm a Nova guy. Been up here 20 plus years. And it's fine. I'm a Virginia guy because I've lived.
If you keep putting it on taglines and podcasts, you can't run away from it. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing, right? I was introduced to that Battlefield through my son and his teammates, having a son at Patriot. And I quickly realized Battlefield, in a lot of ways, was, in my humble opinion, this is something I say, no one else has said this, is a school known for championships. In multiple sports. And I was introduced to it in football and basketball because of the rivalry they have with Patriot. It's not just those two sports. Everything, because of the proximity. A lot of the kids are here in the west side of the county. This is before Gainesville was built. No shade to Gainesville.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, man, I got there my son's sophomore year, the first year after COVID, and it was packed. And then you got the contrast with the purple, and you got the dim, and then you got on this side, Red Nation, and the red. Yeah. And I'm like, this is crazy. So you're taking over a program coached by the great Randy Bills, who recently, left the program, stepped down, retired after a great run. Two-part question. What make you decide to leave your great thing you got going with Chauncey and all of that to take on, to me, a hard job? Not Battlefield is a hard job. Because the expectations are high. Coaching today, whether public or private, is not easy because everybody wants offers, everybody wants, publications, sponsorship, promotion, and, you're in that triangle, I call it. You have Patriot, Gainesville, then Battlefield. You have that right there where all these kids are right here, going to the next level as far as high school, and it's competitive, right?
Oh yeah.
What made you take the job, and also what was it? Did you think about how tough it is to replace a legend in Randy Bills?
Yeah. Well, first things first. It's impossible to fill Randy's shoes. I've trained and worked with and coached a lot of his kids that have gone through the program. I don't think there's been a single negative word spoken about him. Something that like really stands out to me about Randy, and I haven't been in the building for long, obviously, but I was playing AAU when he was coaching at Robinson, way back when, and so like I have a lot of friends who went through the Robinson program and got coached by him. And one of the consistent things that are said about Randy is he is one of the best people they've ever met. Like, I'm talking about stories of, I don't mean to put Randy's business out there, but like there's a story from one of his players who played for him JV at Robinson, who was extremely close with his grandfather. And when his grandfather got sick and passed away, they hadn't talked in like 8 years. And Randy was one of the first people that reached out to him and remembered facts and different things. And it's like, though basketball's basketball, those things, I mean, that stuff lasts lifetimes. And so Randy, for as great of a coach as he was, and he was an incredible basketball coach, they went to a state title. They've had their kids cut, like you said, they were known for titles, and then a new school opened up down the street. So they've got their athletes cut in half. They don't get the same pool that they used to get. That impacted all the sports programs. So everybody's got to take a little bit of a step back and recalibrate and figure out how to move in that direction where you've got to be more development focused. You're not guaranteed superstars. You've got to really develop and, keep somewhat of a eye down the road and not just worry about what's in front of you, because what's in front of you might not be good enough to get the job done on a given year.
You're familiar because you trained all the kids and you work in the DMV, preferably, Northern Virginia, Prince William County, but were you familiar with the fact that, they had went to states before Patriot did and lost to Hayfield, a legendary undefeated Hayfield team? We talk about Ryan and Hassan. How familiar were you with the program? Because sometimes I talk to coaches, not even on my pod, but just talking to them, and they were like, yeah, I was coaching here. I knew about this school, but I didn't realize it was like this. Or I didn't realize, I was going to get this much support. Or I didn't realize I didn't get enough support. Like how familiar were you with Battlefield?
So when we play the role of like trainers in those situations, we try to ask as many questions as possible, but they're more schematics. So it's like, we want to know what offense you run. We want to know what actions you run. We want to know what kind of game scenarios we can put you in here to actually help what you're going through, what you're learning, or what you're running. I tried to stay away from the program itself. Like me and Chauncey's thing is like, we never wanted to be tied to a program. The training industry, like we wanted to help everybody. And so we really just tried to be away from it, even though it was in our backyard. And we worked with a lot of those kids their senior year. Like that senior class of Maddox and Haas and Ryan and AJ and all those kids. But not as familiar with the program, just through the players. There's just great things about Randy through and through.
Is Coach Bill still in the building? He still works there?
Yeah, he still works there. And so it's great to have him too. Like he's offered an ear to me a lot. So he's just a great person. Like I really can't say enough great things about him.
That's dope. That's good. That's good. I mean, I've talked to him quite a few times. When my son committed to Fort Union, he reached out to me, and DM'd me and said some great things. And then when Isaiah had some great games on the collegiate level, it was at Fort Union and even in the collegiate level, he's reached out. And it was cool, man, because, when you're new to a rivalry, you don't know what's what. I don't know who hates who. And, I'm very laid back, but, I can't play anymore. But, like, when I was playing, rivalry, I don't like y'all. I hate y'all. Yep. But it really wasn't like that. Like, it's more the student sections and the Barstool accounts. It's just crazy. How is, I have a lot of people there. There's the assistant principal, Chris, that works there. Miss Lucas. Yep. Miss Lucas is a great friend to me. I'm tight with her and her daughter, who's a judge in Prince William County. Miss Lucas used to be the AP at Patriot, and she was my son's administrator, and now she's the head principal at Battlefield. A lot of good people there. I got a couple of kids in the Victory Life program, the mentoring program that go there. How have you enmeshed yourself there? How comfortable have you gotten I mean, I know it's still very early, but have they welcomed you? Do you feel comfortable?
Oh yeah. I listen, when I first got the job back in March, April, I found a vacant office. I embedded myself into the school. I made myself seen. I made myself heard. I got, kids were able to come into the office and eat lunch and watch film during the day. And I was really able to just, before I even got into the off-season program, I was able to have these conversations, meet the kids, talk to the seniors, but then more importantly, like meet the admin, meet the teachers in the building. It's a great community to be a part of. And like you said, Chris McMillan, Dolores, Doug Burney especially. I mean, there are so many great people in the building. Once I got in there and met people, I wanted to be in there all the time. They don't pay me to, and then they gave my office that I stole away to a real teacher. So they said they've got me on a reserve list for next year. They'll get me back into the building because I can do all my like if we do analysis write-ups for players or we do film work for players, I can just do all that in the school, work from home, but work in the school. And then at that point, you're in the building, you can stay on top of kids from an attendance standpoint, a grade standpoint, and do all the extra stuff that I like doing anyway. So
yeah,
and there's to answer your other question, sorry, I completely skipped over it.
Okay.
It was one of those things where Randy told me, I mean, even with all the success he had, there was somebody every year that tried to get him fired. And that just comes with the territory of coaching varsity basketball, especially in the DMV, I would say.
Yes.
And so it was one of those things where I think that I would have regretted it more if I didn't take the opportunity. I'm doing this my way. And I've got an incredible coaching staff. We're very process oriented. I'm giving everybody an opportunity. Words of wisdom from Coach Des is you're either young or you're good. And we don't have a senior class that has a lot of returning minutes or points.
Hold on, can you clarify for those when they see this who Coach Des is? Because I know you're talking about
Mike Desmond.
Mike
Desmond at South Lakes. I lean on him a ton for advice and guidance and just any kind of questions like that. And so roster building obviously comes up in those conversations, and it's either you're young or you're good. But we really wanted, especially this year, we took 15 varsity, we took 15 JV, we took 15 freshmen. We really wanted to pour into these kids this season. Everything we could, development-wise, film room-wise, weight room-wise. We wanted to give every kid a chance to take advantage of what we can bring to the table. This is my full-time job. This is all I have. This is my, don't have kids at home. Don't have a wife yet. So I say that because the almost missus is sitting next to me, and I didn't want her to get upset about that. Gonna have a wife soon. But right now, these kids are my family. And so I can spend every waking hour thinking and processing this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do for people that have 9-to-5s, that they have to be in an office or have to be distracted. I think you're seeing a lot of hires go that way right now in the district.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and this is a question not just about your Battlefield kids. It's a general question, but it's relative to the kids you're coaching in today's climate. This is
excited for this.
This is a new world, and I'm in the midst of it, having a son that's playing, and he has representation now. And I was on the phone with my sister when you texted and reminded me and confirmed everything about tonight as we record this episode. He's a junior and he's committed to UVA. He had 17 D1 offers and he's won a UVA football player. And we're talking about NIL. Virginia approved 3 years ago you can get NIL in high school. The DMV, I was ignorant to it when I lived in 757, but there's no debate. The DMV is clearly the mecca of high school basketball. I mean, Jay Wright from Villanova made it clear when he won 2 national championships. And he talked about, hey, listen, I go to the DMV first. And he does. And even right now, with him being retired, Villanova still has a strong representation. Georgetown, UVA, Virginia Tech. Shout out to my Hokies, my alma mater. Ben Hammond's there. I've known Ben since he was 6 years old. His dad, Mo. So we can name drop all day long. But these kids are different in the fact that they're not bad. They're not so much, oh, my God, they're so ignorant. They are local celebrities in high school now, and then they get to college, and they're even bigger. They can make money. They have a brand. These kids have brands. Some of these kids don't understand that what you did at AAU at 12 years old. In the high school level, you have to reset and do it again at a harder level. And sometimes parents, unfortunately, act more like agents than parents, and they want to tell you, hey man, you need to put my son at the shooting guard. He's not a point guard. I'm not saying that's Battlefield. I'm saying these are examples I've seen everywhere.
Yep.
And I say all that to say, why and how are you managing, or I should say, how are you managing that?
I'm trying to change the culture. Like that is what my mission is at Battlefield. And I think that like it's not going to be like a Battlefield stands out. It's going to be like a Battlefield zags, and all those coaches that are starting to zag continue to zag. All the coaches that aren't yet, they sag, and that becomes the new norm. So like, here's what it is. And this is just my opinion. I've thought about this a lot, and I've got some ideas of actually how we can close the gap. The problem right now in the DMV, like you said, is the hotbed for basketball. But because it's been the hotbed for basketball, it's extremely oversaturated now. And because we live in a highlight culture, like basketball at its best, and like I know I was born in 96, so I'm not going to pretend like I was around in the 80s or the 70s when, you couldn't move a basketball and dribble at the same time. But like basketball is built on overcoming adversity. And we live in a culture right now where, and this is our saying through Battlefield right now, and this is what we're trying to preach. This is our mantra. It's not the culture's job to make you happy. It's the culture's job to make you successful. And the problem right now is parents are seeking their child's happiness, and they're not seeking their child being challenged. That's the issue right now. And so you have this drop off between, like, you've got organizations and you've got people that do this the right way. Like, you've got your takeovers, you've got your Durants. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of money there, but those kids are learning how to be dogs. Those kids are only playing against top competition. Those kids are only learning how to get better. Like, that's just the reality of it. Mm-hmm. And so now you've got this huge drop off between private school and public school, because private school, you get 60 games a year. Public school, you get 20 to 30. Okay. Private school, you've got trainers involved. You're in the weight room. You've got money to use. You've got a lot of red tape. You've got a lot of things that you can't do in public school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These people aren't paid. You're on a $6,000 stipend in high school. You're on a salary in private schools at times, if you're, good enough. And so you've got this dichotomy now where there's such a gap. People are struggling how to fill it. I think there's a very easy solution. And I think what it's going to require is, I think it's going to require the district coaches, and I'm not just saying the Cedar Run district. I think this should be the norm for everywhere in this area. We have to acknowledge the gap, and we have to acknowledge the reality. And the only way we're going to get through it is if we understand that we can't just rely on seasonal basketball players. We have to create avenues and paths for these players to actually get to college and play, because that's their goal. Whether they've worked at that level to this point or not, that's their goal. It's now our job to get them to the next level. So what I would propose right now is there has to be some kind of committee within the district. All the head coaches have to get together. We've got to figure out who all the top organizations are in the area. And I'm talking about, like, Playmakers has an Under Armour team. The Nova Cavs have a circuit team. There's a ton of teams in the area that have like that one circuit team. All right, cool. Let's, as district head coaches, let's partner up with these organizations. Let's figure out how we can get all of our top guys tried out. And then if they don't make it, let's build backup plans so that these kids, like, and you're seeing it right now with a lot of kids, and there are kids on Battlefield that are struggling with this right now. And I don't know if you saw our schedule, like, we're 4-6. If you had some kind of like strength of schedule analytics, we would be number one by a country mile.
I was going to bring it up. That's fine. The schedule, right. Your schedule is insane.
We did that on purpose, and we'll continue to do that every year, because you have to hold a mirror up to these kids right now. This is what we are. If you want to get to that level, you want to hang banners, you have to understand the real deficiencies in your game, and you have to understand what separates those kind of teams and young teams like we are. And that is very simply, what are you doing in the off season? Like, hey, you're the best athlete growing up, and that's why you were really good in your class, but you only play locally in the spring. And so now you're used to jumping over guys for rebounds. You're 140 pounds soaking wet. Everybody's caught up to you in height. You're getting bumped. You don't know how to box out. You don't know how to cut. You don't know how to rotate. You don't know how to talk on defense. You don't know how to crash the glass offensively at an angle dictated based on where the shot's released from. Like, hey, dummy, if a three-pointer's taken, don't run underneath the rim. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You're 5'11". And so the gap can be closed, but it's going to require all the public school coaches to swallow their pride, put their egos aside, and team up and be like, how can we get our kids to play 50 to 60 games in the spring against taller and better kids? That's it. Get them out of the area. Right now, there are kids that get out of the area, but those kids all go to private school, and they're all on shoe teams, and they all get into these bubbles that are untouchable unless a new 6'8" kid comes along.
Well, I think you're spot on with a lot.
Sorry for the rant. Yeah,
no,
this is something I'm very passionate.
This is my show. This is what we got to do. It's always going to be insightful. This is what I want to hear from you. I want this, and people watching this want this. They need to know. I'm just going to throw a little more ketchup and mustard on your point.
Please.
I think the challenge also is with some of the parents. So, for example, when I started my AU organization, I had kids that were raw and they were starting out and no one really knew them. A lot of them had played either Manassas Park, Rec Ball, or GBA. So I had Phoenix Shahati, who played at Gainesville and Patriot and Uni Reed before stopping playing. I had Grant Polk, who hadn't hit that growth spurt yet, but he was still a great shooter. Tay Barber, Isaiah Vick, Tavion Faison, Trey Terrell, Brady Page, and Brendan, who was a 6'8" stretch 4, who played at Osborne for 3 years, right? So those kids ended up being really good, but I had them, and when I got them, they never really had left Prince William. They maybe went to Maryland or Fairfax, but they were local, but they were young. And then when I got them, I was like, hey, listen, because they were playing for Coach Pinkowski, great coach. His sons all played ball, playing college.
Basketball across the bridge is a little different,
and that's what they learned. So I put a team together. We started going to PG County. We played the Gauchos when they were nationally ranked. But we did all this, and it was so good before Grant and my son went to play for New World, and Tay and Isaiah also played at DC Premier, and we got really good. I had a really great group, but it was the parents signed off on it because they were used to being local, but a lot of parents in Prince William don't understand that you got to get out your comfort zone and play DC, Maryland, New York. You got to go to New Jersey. You got to go and be able to invest, not just financially, but mentally. You got to give up some weekends. You got to get. My daughters both play. One is done, but my youngest daughter's playing club volleyball right now for American. They're in Maryland. They're in Philadelphia, Orlando. And that's just the way it is. So I think everything you're saying, I think there's got to be more education given to the parents too, because that group I had, 3 of them are playing college basketball. The other ones could have, but they chose different routes. But the fact of the matter is that the parents were willing to say, okay, even if I can't make it, he can ride with you. And we're okay with him going up north for 4 days during the summer to play in a tournament.
Where they might not win a game.
Yeah.
They might not win a game.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really good when I can say this now because we ended up getting really good. We beat them later on. But when we first went from 5th to 6th grade, we played the Gauchos. Isaiah Abraham and them were there with the Dream Chasers. It was a big tournament called the Junior Phenom Tournament in Richmond. We played against CP3's team. We lost to them. They had a guard that was probably 3 years reclassed. But they smoked us. We played a team from Maryland. That was the only win. Then on Sunday, we played the Gauchos. And I remember it was so humbling for all of us because they beat us 55-5. My son scored 2 free throws and Trey Terrell hit a 3. That was all we scored. And we couldn't get past half court. Grant got a concussion. Tay Barber had a high ankle sprain, and we just were strapped. And it was after that we went and we talked about this is what we asked for, and we had to keep the parents on board because it was humbling for everybody. But many of those kids, when they went to high school after 2, 3 more, 4 more years with me, many of them did well, whether it was for freshman, JV, or varsity. Many of them were all district. Tavion, his last year at Osborne, led the district in scoring. Tay Barber, and I'm not taking credit. It's a village. It was me, the trainers, the dads, the moms. Tay Barber ended up being first team All-Met, player of the year, back-to-back years in the Cedar Run district, and regional player of the year. So again, it's really cool to see what you're talking about when it comes to fruition, but not only do the coaches got to buy in, but the parents got to buy in too.
like you said, it's a financial and a time commitment from players and parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I chalk it up to really is different goals. And when people have to work together, which coaches and parents alike have to work together, anybody that works together, you've got to have like-minded goals. But at the end of the day, a coach's goal is to do what's best for the team, and a parent's goal is always going to be what's to do best for their kid. And not enough parents understand that, like, yeah, these team sports are trying to translate to life skills, but one of the most important skills and traits that you have to learn in basketball is how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, the only way to grow in basketball, and that's why you have all these stories of, like, I remember growing up and all I was told was, you need to go play with adults, go play with older people, go play with people that are bigger than you, go learn how to play the right way. And you don't understand what that means until you actually learn basketball. Like, and that's the problem, is it's hard for a parent to watch their kid be the eighth man in minutes, and every time he gets in, he's getting blown by because they're playing really good competition, and every time he's in, the game is moving so fast for him, he looks like a deer in headlights. But it's like, if you're not going to make him struggle and learn through that moment at 10 years old, how is he going to get through that moment at 16? Like, it's never going to happen. You've got to let these kids go through adversity. And again, I think right now we're just at a point in time with our culture where it's like, I would rather my kid be happy. My kid has to be happy and successful at the same time. But when iron sharpens iron, sparks and fire are created.
Yeah,
you've got to go through fire to sharpen. It's not it's not a smooth process. But, like, I don't think anything in life worth having is an easy process. So
well said. Well, you also said, speaking of the process, you're in the midst of the process. We're on winter break. We come back and district play is in full throttle. I mean, there'll be a few other conference games, but you guys are 4-6. You've lost 3 straight, but as you mentioned in our interview and even before we were catching up, you played a very good Patriot team, a very good Westfield team. Both those two teams, along with Lansdowne, are favored to win it in Class 6. You've also played a Woodson team coached by my guy Doug Craig, who is always getting the best out of his players. And some of these games, to be fair, and I'm not saying it's because you're on this platform, some of those games that you've lost, you guys were right there. I watched y'all against Madison.
Winnable.
Y'all, and this is no shade at Madison, but y'all kept cutting the lead to 5. And then one time it was 4. And then you would let them get an offensive rebound, they kick it out, 3-pointer. Or you get the rebound, bad pass, point guard's looking one way, goes out of bounds, they get the ball back, and they go back up 9. Tell me about your team right now. I know you're still a work in progress, but I know the standard at Battlefield this time of year, they're 8-1 or, they're right there. But this is a new regime and a new team, and these kids are still trying to figure it out. And that's hard. Yeah. You're seeing that with other teams. I mean, South Lakes just lost an iconic and legendary player, Jordan Scott. They're not the same South Lakes team. My guy Los is coaching Hayfield. Hayfield, you're talking about a few years ago, they had a run that, was legendary. But right now, they got a freshman point guard. Los has lost 97% of his team to the transfer portal in the high school. He did. He lost a lot of guys.
Really?
He lost a lot of guys. But when you're at a program or when you coach and you've been successful, I'm going to say this with you, you become a prisoner of the expectations you create. So right now, you're a prisoner of Battlefield's basketball expectations. When people know in the know like me and observers, you're trying to get it right and get some guys to understand their role, get the rotation right, get people to learn how to win, to dive for those 50-50 loose balls, to take a charge, to swing the ball one more time, to get a better shot. That's not going to show up on Max Preps. The score is just going to show up, right? So what kind of team do you have right now, and what are you guys doing well, and what needs to get better?
We're just super young. And so I am not one of those coaches that wants to drip feed my kids confidence or put blinders on them. We went out and we scheduled as tough of a schedule as possible. I mean, we had Bethel National on our schedule at one point. I mean, we went for the throat. I mean, but it's required. Like, you can't just talk about wanting to hang banners. You can't just talk about wanting to win districts or regions or states and not actually see what those caliber of teams and coaches look like. And so, like, we're 4-6. We've played, Garfield, who was undefeated, I think still undefeated right now. They might have the best player in the entire region. Westfield, Patriot, we're able to beat Woodson, who's an incredible team with an incredible coach. Lost to Madison, lost to Colonial Forge. And so we've got a very, very tough schedule. And, we come out of this winter break with Carmel, very good program, and Heritage having a great season. And then we get back to our district play. But I think it's so important for the growth. Like, I don't want to schedule teams that I think are like maybe on our current level or teams that we can get like a confidence builder on. Like, I want to learn how to win at a high level. And I don't think there's any point or any reason to skip steps in the process. Like, we're big on trust the process. And so, like, for us, our culture is all about possession battle. As analytical and forward thinking as we are, like, we do have a lot of 90s style thinking to us. And so, like, some categories that we talk about is like, the only way to get on the court at Battlefield from this point moving forward in this season is you've got to box out every possession. You've got to communicate every possession. I'll tell you, our 4 possession battle things are box out rate 100%, offensive rebound rate, you've got to crash at a proper angle. So if there's a 3-point shot that goes up and you're in the corner, I don't want to see you running at the rim. You've got to crash underneath the elbow. Like, you've got to take actual realistic angles based on where the shot goes up, longer the shot, further the rebound. Deflections and stocks. So steals, blocks, deflections, charges drawn. What is that looking like in comparison to the other team and the other players on the team? Turnovers. So it's just winning the offensive rebound battle, boxing out at a high level no matter what our size is, and then winning the turnover battle. And then it's funny. So, like, every time we lose a game, we've got a lot of road games. And so on our bus ride home, Huddle's uploaded. Kids will all pop out their phones, hop on to Huddle. And they've got to send me 10 notes by the end of the night on what they see. 5 on themselves, 5 on the game. And it's funny. It's the same 3 things, all 6 losses. It's the same 3 things that keep popping up. It's we're not communicating on defense. We're not boxing out consistently. We're not rotating quick enough. If you look at our shot chart right now, we're holding teams under league average at every single spot besides 3 feet, because we're getting beat backside on rotations. We're not sprinting back on defense. We're getting beat on offensive rebounds. We've got all the makings of a young team, just a very, very inexperienced team. I think our 3 leaders in minutes are 2 sophomores and a junior. And so some of those mistakes you expect, and then when you're playing great teams and great coaches like we have, you just expect that kind of stuff. It's a part of the process. Like, if we do this the right way, by mid-July, we should be really hitting our stride as a team. Like, our offense should be going. I mean, we spent the first 10 games running conceptual offense. So, like, we're not just going to put makeup on a pig. Like, we're going to teach you how to attack high hips. We're going to teach you how to peek the rim. We're going to teach you how to 45 cut on the weak side, depending on where the drive occurs. We're going to teach you how to seal. We're going to teach you how to we're going to teach you basketball. You need to be able to read and react. We can't hide our deficiencies through X's and O's. Like, that's just not where we are in the process. So I think this year we're going to go through our learning struggles. I think next year we're going to be very, very, very good. Very, very
good job segueing to my next question. I was going to ask you, because, I mean, I've seen this before with teams. I mentioned Hayfield. I remember seeing them when Greg Jones and those guys were young, and they weren't good. They were solid, but I saw them. I mean, to be fair, it was fall league, but
when you're undisciplined, that's what you look. You don't look good. You look discombobulated.
Exactly. And I remember talking to Los, and he was like, "It's so funny because when they got good, he remembered nobody wanted those players when they were young, and all of a sudden they become really good, and everybody was in their DMs." But the truth of the matter is, you talk about players. There are a couple of players when you say next year we're going to be really good. Just highlight some of those guys who hey, Vic, I'm telling you, such and such, next year, if everything clicks, he's going to be a dog. Just not to give away any too much, but just
all of our games are on NFHS. We don't hide. We are not in a busy. I beg you to scout all of our games. Know everything we're going to do. Like, we need to learn. We've got to learn how to win at a high level. We're not going to hide from that this year. Next year we might, but we're not hiding from that this year. So a couple players that I'd highlight. I think first and foremost would be Luke Hostetler. Luke Hostetler is a sophomore. He's actually young for his grade. Like, he is younger than most of the freshmen that we have on our freshman team.
Wow.
So very young for his age. He's playing out of position this year. He has to run the 1 for us, just so everybody else can play their natural position. He's our best ball handler under pressure. He plays with pace. He's calm. He's sensational. Like, he'll guard the other team's best player and bring the ball up and run the offense every night as a sophomore. In that Osborne Park game, the Osborne game, he went 5 of 6 from 3 and had the game. He was the kid with the game-winning layup at the end. So like, flashes off the building. He's the first one in. So like, if they ever do an open gym, like, we did open gym before the season started, where like, I think one of our assistant coaches would come open the gym, let the kids come shoot around, completely optional if they wanted to. He didn't miss. He was the only one that didn't miss a day. Monday through Friday, he's in the gym at 5:45 a.m. And like, you saw it last year. He got pulled up to varsity. He didn't play at all. He would leave varsity practice. He'd come to the gym to Chauncey, and he trained for 2 hours. Like, it just made him hungry sitting on the bench all year last year. And so this year he's going to struggle a little bit offensively, finishing around the rim. He's not confident with his contact yet. But then him and Yassine Hamad, Haas's little brother, I've had the privilege to coach Yas since he was in 5th grade. And so Yassine's another kid who will guard the other team's best player 84 feet. We trust him in every situation defensively. He's drawn a couple game-winning charges, and he's fearless. Like, for a sophomore, he might be the most fearless kid on the team. He's a sophomore. I mean, he is willing to put his head down. Now, puts his head down too often, and we're working on it, but he's willing to put his head down and do the dirty work. And like, when you've got a kid that does everything, he'll box out, he'll guard the other team's best player, he takes charges, he rotates, he communicates, he does all the little stuff. Like, you're going to live with a bad shot here and there. Like, you take a 1-dribble pull-up, you actually had a next pass to a corner guy who's one of our best shooters. That's a sophomore mistake in my head. Like, if you're going to check all those really hard boxes, the winning boxes, you're allowed to take 1 or 2 shots that there might have been a better shot. We'll talk about it. You're doing the winning stuff. And then Cooper Cramp, who you met, he's a junior. He's averaging 2 or 3 charges a game. In that Osborne game, there was like a sequence of 5 possessions in overtime and the end of the 4th quarter where he drew like 4 charges in 5 possessions. I mean, he's just, he's willing to guard 1 through 5. He's super high level. And he's one of those kids. It's funny. We talked about like how the separation of AAU kids and shoe teams and whatever, he was undersized and overweight growing up. So he had to learn how to play there's no other way for me to put this. He had to learn how to play as an undersized fat kid. And if you can learn how to play at a high level as an undersized fat kid, when you have like, we had a really intense off-season program, he had a spurt, got all of his baby fat off, grew some muscle. Now his game is complete now. But it was just like, it's one of those things where he fell into the right situation.
It's like that. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's why I tell parents, man, be careful what y'all label this, that, whatever, when the kid is in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Because, I mean, even my guy Grant, man, I remember right as he got to Gainesville, and then right when he left, he started getting taller and leaner. And I was like, dude, are you 6'9" now, 6'8"? And he just laughed. And, I mean, his shot, when you're that tall, his last year playing at U, he played with my son. They both played for New World. I mean, granted, if he was open, it was going in. Yeah. And it's just cool because I have so many old pictures of him when he played for me. And, looking at him now, you didn't know he was going to get that long and tall. And now he's hitting shots for South Carolina. I'm just so proud of him and proud of a lot of kids. Like you mentioned, I didn't even know Hassan had a brother for you. So that bodes well because that kid Hassan was a winner. He's a winner now. He's a winner. Yeah. So that's cool. Speaking of winning, though, you said you're young, but district play really antes up in January and February. You already have 1 win over Osborne, right?
I think we've got 2 I think we're 2-2 in the district. 2-2, 1-2, something like that.
Something like that. You got Independence again. I know you had a tough loss with them, but the district is still taking shape with all the new coaches. Yourself, Coach Andrew Lacey, the guy over at OP, his name escapes me right now. Everybody's kind of making their mark. I think, and this is Dwight Vick saying this, I think in 2 to 3 years, the district's going to be like it was when my son first got to Patriot, when you had Webb at Champ, you had Bills at Battlefield, you had Lawrence at Unity Reed when they had Mahad and the Morrison twins and Sean Scott, and they were very tough to beat. And you also had Gainesville was new, but they had a young Grant and some other guys. And the district had 5 games. Osborne had Tay Barber, Rocky Carter was still coaching, Idris and those guys. It was really, really good. I mean, you couldn't really slip up. I think in 2 to 3 years it's going to be the same way if everybody stays with you and the guys. So with that being said, right now, not to put any pressure on you, Coach RJ, but what will be this year? I want to get into 2026, 27. What will be a successful finish for you guys, despite your youthfulness, to finish the district on a strong note?
It's going to be our ability to play disciplined basketball, and it's going to be our ability to compete for 32 minutes. Right now, our biggest issues are we're just young, inexperienced, and we're undisciplined. We're not putting 4 quarters together. We're getting 2.5 really good quarters, but you can't recover from so many 8-0 runs, and you can't recover from so many spurts. And, we've gone with, a 12-man rotation at this point. I mean, we're really trying to give guys a chance. We're really trying to teach. We're really trying to develop. I think, to your point, you're going to see the district completely change over the next few years. And I think some of the hires with OP, Osborne, I don't know anything about Independence. They're new to the district. Great coach is phenomenal. And their players are phenomenal too. Players and coaches are phenomenal over at Independence. But the guys that were in this district last year, like OP and Osborne, home run hires. Those guys are going to build culture. Those guys are going to build programs. Those guys are going to have a plan from the top down. Those guys are going to commit 24 hours a day to their program. Like we talked about, Sherm's already set the standard. Sherm is that guy. Sherm already gives everything he has to the program. He's always got one foot in the door of varsity and a plan for JV and a plan for freshmen. And everything's mapped out because he cares. He's got his passion. And so I think, Randy's hard shoes to follow, but one thing I can stand on is I'll stand on how passionate I am. I will give everything to the community. I'll give everything to the program. I'll give everything to the kids. We're going to struggle this year, but it's on purpose. We're seeking out this adversity this year. I don't have a projected win-loss record. For me personally, it's going to look like us going up against Patriot or us going up against Independence or us going up against veteran teams and us battling tooth and nail to the very end. And we're not putting our heads down. Shots are going to go in, shots aren't going to go in. We're going to make young team mistakes here and there, but it's basketball. And if you can do the winning stuff that we're really trying to preach as a culture and as a program, if you can do the winning stuff for 32 minutes, it doesn't matter if the ball's going in or not on a given day. You're going to have a chance to win every single game. And we're not there yet. We're not checking those 4 boxes, that possession battle stuff we talked about. But once we start checking it on all cylinders and rotations tighten up, and we're spending the winter break installing a ton of stuff. We didn't want to install anything through those first 10 games. I took blame in the locker room for the Independence loss. You're playing a matchup 2-3, and we're not working on 2-3 install. We'll have 10 to 20 2-3 install hitters during district run. But right now, with the 2-week break, we really had to prioritize just getting on the court and playing. We had 2 practices over a 3-week span because of 2 4-game weeks. So everything got crazy. Like I said, I'm just looking for growth. I really want, this season is all about figuring it out. And if we hit our stride the right way, we might go and surprise some people in the district tournament. And I think there's always a run to be had. You just got to be playing your best basketball at the right time. And for us,
I think that's it's good. No, you got to hit your stride. And I think that's the cool thing about basketball, where football is it starts and the finish is so fast. Basketball, it's a longer season, and there's more opportunities to get that stride, like you mentioned. Coach, this has been a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you jumping on, and I appreciate you not getting tired of me and the Victory Life movement. Because I've interviewed you now 3 times. Those are midi-day, but it's just you. But then I'm going to probably be out to your gym here in the next few weeks, getting some on-site interviews. I'm going to Garfield this week to interview their players and get some clips of practice. So you and some other programs on deck. I just love covering the district and the region. A lot of great players, a lot of great coaches like yourself, man. I'm thankful to be a part of your group now, man, to talk to you more about what you got going on. Definitely keep getting fluids and take care of yourself, because you have a lot of energy.
I've limited myself to 1 Celsius a day. No more 2 energy drink days. Well,
Yeah.
no, and I appreciate it, Dwight. Like, we talk about it all the time. We can't be great without the greatness of others. So, like, we're always trying to surround ourselves, especially in our building right now. Are you passionate? Does your humanity drive you? And so, like, whenever you want me to hop on, and as spicy as you want it to get, let me know. I'll take shots at somebody. If we need ratings, if we need reviews, let me know. I'll start some stuff.
Well,
I'll tweak some stuff.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. But make sure before I sign off, make sure you tell Chauncey what I said, how much I respect his work, and also I want to reach out to him right before his season picks up, because I know how the off season is. But I want to promote what he's got going on. But hey, listen, this has been a lot of fun, and I just want to thank you for jumping on, man, and salute to you and your players and your coaching staff. I'm not saying you are saying this, I'm saying this, but the VHSL does not pay you guys enough. That's not a shot at Battlefield administration. That's just what I know as a guy that's coached before.
We're volunteers, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do a lot. Go ahead.
I appreciate. Yeah, it's tough, but it's they're fine. I think we're finding people in the district now with these new hires. They're dedicated. Don't matter. Money doesn't matter right now to a lot of these people.
Yeah.
Like, don't matter. The hours I'm putting in, it's 2 cents an hour. It doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't wait for this if they didn't have to pay me. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'd love
I know.
So
you can tell that. You can tell. But anyway, man, everybody, thank y'all for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Get out and catch the Battlefield basketball game. A lot of good matchups coming up here in the new year. And for those watching, happy holidays as we record this episode. I appreciate everybody part of the Victory Life movement. Shout out to, the Den and the Battlefield crowd and over there on the Haymarket area. Appreciate everybody for watching. As I said, I'm Dwight Vick, owner and founder of Victory Life. And like I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you leave a positive impact and a great legacy. Thank you guys for watching on behalf of Battlefield High School Basketball and Coach RJ. We also say thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you, Dwight. Appreciate you. Anytime.